All right, we are back with Dan on Golf. I am only slightly less nervous than the first time. I guess I might be a little bit more nervous if I'm going to be stumbling over my words all show. I'm just kidding. I want to thank you all for the positive reaction to the first show. And not just the first show, but the vlogs, all the videos on the channels. I feel like we're building a really strong community here. I'm really excited about continuing to pump out content inside the rope stuff, bring you all closer to the action than ever before. And we just wrapped up a really, really exciting week of golf. The West Coast Swing is now in the books. And we talked about this with Rick Gehman last week, that it's a little bit harsh because he's only 25, but it felt like it was time for Ludvig Åberg to make that move, to win a signature event. Yeah, he'd already won on the DP World Tour. He'd already won a PGA Tour event in the fall. But after contending so much, finishing second in your first Masters, it just felt like it was time to make a statement. And he made that statement. He made it in a huge way. He entered the week with some unfinished business at Torrey Pines. We shot 63 in the first round of the Farmers a couple weeks ago. It felt like, he's gonna win the tournament. He got so sick that he lost 8 pounds, tumbled down the leaderboard. He ended up withdrawing from the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. His partner was Jimmy Dunn. Took some balls to withdraw when your partner's with Jimmy Dunn, who's like the power maker in golf. So he turned up yesterday with a chance to win 2 shots back. A little bit extra motivation, but Maverick McNeely was making a strong push up the leaderboard. And we're going to roll some highlights to run through how it went down at Torrey Pines on Sunday. It was a 2-man race most of the afternoon. Maverick McNeely actually had a 3-shot lead when he played the 17th. He built that lead with shots like this from the second. Getting to that back pin, that was a tap-in birdie. He added birdies on 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, and this one on 11. And this is when you thought, okay, he might break the course record. 8 under through 11 at Torrey Pines South on 13. Just a full rip with 3-wood after a perfect drive. What a golf shot. But that would be the last birdie he made of the day. He 2-putted from there, built a solid lead, and you're thinking if he can get this in the house, he's going to be really tough to beat. He would bogey the 14th hole, and then this incredible par save on 17. So his drive ends up in a horrible place. He tries to muscle it out, gets it to the first cut, and this was the wedge shot that I thought might have won him the tournament at the time. I was standing not far away, spun that back to about 6 feet, was able to make this par, which felt like a birdie. I mean, going to 18, you're thinking if he can get one more, he's probably definitely locking himself into a playoff at least. And this was the birdie effort. Looked a lot like Tiger's putt that he made back in 2008. It slid by on the low side, and you felt at this point Ludvig was making birdies behind. We're going to get to that in just a second. Cleaned it up for par. That's still 64 on Torrey Pines South. Guy won the RSM just a couple months ago. Ludvig was even par for his round through 6 holes, and then kicked it into gear on the 7th. Ooh, if that lands just 1 yard past, it's probably going to stay in the rough. He would make that birdie on 7. He added one on the par 5, 9th birdie, 13, stuck it close here on 14. And this was the big putt, the 25-footer on 15 to get to 11 under and draw even. He hit his best drive maybe of the entire week on 18, and then this 7-wood, I mean, this was the most flush 7-wood you could ever ask for. Gets to the back edge, kind of where Jon Rahm made his putt for his first PGA Tour win. A really, really tricky 2-putt. There's a big slope there. Left himself about 8 feet, and he poured it right in the middle. I love this reaction. A very, very cool reaction. People talk about him being a robot. I don't think so. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Maverick high-fives his little brother, Scout, who is his caddy. Nothing to be ashamed of, but just a massive, massive win for Ludvig Åberg. A great job putting on a tournament on short notice. Thought the course looked fantastic. And this might blow your guys' mind here a little bit, but I've got a take. So Ludvig is up to number 4 in the world. And look, I think Scottie Scheffler is going to be number 1 in the world for a really long time, like at least another year or so. I think the next guy who gets there is Ludvig Åberg. I really do. And this also might blow your guys' mind, but we did an interview, me and Ludvig, yesterday at Torrey Pines, only about 2 hours down the road, a live interview. We had a little bit of an audio issue, so bear with us there. Again, we're still learning here. It's only our second episode. But here is me catching up with Ludvig Åberg, trophy in hand. A little bit easier to play Torrey Pines when you're not blowing chunks every third hole.
Yeah. I was telling Joe today, I'm like, dude, it's so nice to just play a normal Torrey. You have a normal wind. It's not survival mode. I feel okay, and yeah, it was really nice.
You were 6 under for the tournament through 6 holes. Maverick was making a move. Scotty was making a move. Mm-hmm. Did you feel like you still had a shot? Did Joe kind of give you a pep talk?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the leaderboards all day. I felt like I sort of made 3 bogeys in a row on 4, 5, and 6, which wasn't ideal. But I still felt like I was sort of in control of my own game at least. And knowing what Torrey Pines is, it's hard making birdies, but you can also be aggressive when you have the chance. And whenever I saw him posting 11, I tried to get to 12.
You're like such a cool customer. I've called you a robot in the past. I know you're not a robot.
No one's a robot.
I accept it. No one's a robot. Are you like a meditation guy? How do you stay so calm?
No, not necessarily. I did a lot of breathing today, though, like intentionally just trying to...
Like breathe through the nose?
Yeah, exactly. Sort of the box breath.
What's the box breath?
It's like 4 in, pause 4, 4 out, pause 4 seconds. And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I'm a fast player, and when things get a little amped up, I just tend to get faster. So I really have to sort of slow myself down, and, Joe has to, come on, dude, chill a little bit.
Liverpool's probably going to win the league. Manchester United might get relegated. Do you want to use this opportunity to kick me while I'm down? I'm ready for it.
We had a good day today. I was a little bit nervous last 10 minutes probably in the Wolves game, but they were amazing. First half was really good. I'm sorry about Man United.
It's dark.
Spurs is not necessarily a hard team to play at the moment.
Nope.
But so,
battered us.
Yeah. I just want to win the league. That's all I want.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Yeah, really enjoyed that chat with Ludvig. He's a massive, massive Liverpool FC fan. Every time I see him out on the golf course, he's asking for a score update, or he wants to know if Man United are losing, which they have been losing a lot recently. So really enjoyed catching up with Ludvig. And yeah, I mean, he's been a star, right? You play a Ryder Cup before you ever play your first major championship. You win right away out of college. There's these expectations. He's delivering on them. It's really fun to watch him emerge before our eyes. We're going to move into a segment that we call the Knockaround, presented by Knockaround Sunglasses. Had these all week. Through the elements at Torrey, it was raining. It was gross early in the week. It was sunny. I had Knockarounds the entire time. Just a really good product for a really good price. And we got good news. We have a promo code. If you go to knockaround.com and use the promo code DanOnGolf20, you're going to get 20% off your first order. There are some restrictions that apply. I don't really know what those are. But knockaround.com. Promo code DanOnGolf20. This knockaround is going to be very LIV Australia heavy. There was no DP World Tour event this week. There was no Corn Ferry event this week. And this is their major. This is like their biggest event. It draws the biggest crowds. But also, and I'm going to rant here for a second, Australia is fucking awesome, especially in golf. There are so many incredible golf courses in that country. It's got a proud golf history. Some of the best players who have ever played are Australian. And the Australian Open used to be an event that all the top guys in the world had circled, and they would go and play in Australia, and the PGA Tour has totally abandoned it, and there's no excuse for it. When all of this comes together, and we're going to get to that, it seems to be closer than ever. I know everyone's tired of hearing that. We have to have an Australian Open that's a signature event. It is just such a no-brainer. So Joaquin Niemann got the victory. And I was talking about this a little bit on Twitter and online. I don't know if there's anybody apart from Bryson who has benefited more from LIV. He didn't have a ton of backlash when he went. He's now won 3 times on LIV. He's made over $42 million just in prize money. And I know some people are saying, oh, that's deducted from whatever he signed for. That's not what LIV says. It's in addition. So whatever he got to go over there, plus $42 million, plus, he's done a really good job of playing all around the world and showing initiative, and he's still getting into all the major championships. So he's a it's happy days for Joaquin Niemann, and I actually caddied for him. Yeah, there he is. There he is chugging a shoe. That's a big thing in Australia. I'm not going to yuck their yum. Everyone does what they like to do. I've got no problem with it. He's a really nice kid. I caddied for him on the series that I did with Barstool, still doing with Scratch. And yeah, he complained a little bit about getting some abuse publicly.
When
but
I just
here he
came
is.
to LIV, I mean, obviously there.
Yeah, let's toss to that clip of Joaquin Niemann, me talking to Joaquin Niemann from last year.
When I just came to LIV, I mean, obviously there was so much hate going on. Like, I love to get on Instagram and watch videos and see what's going on. And
yeah, you're 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, whenever I got up there, I like to see cars, I like to see golf stuff also. And everything I see on golf, it was, talking shit about us and talking shit about me and whatever. And people saying this, people saying that.
Did that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me, but, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I knew I didn't have to pay attention on it. But in a certain way, it kind of hurt me a little bit.
How could it not? You're a human.
I mean, the good thing, I was surrounded with, good friends, good people. I mean, I had my team also, Carlos, Sebastian, Mito. Like, there was so much hate, like I felt like I was getting on the golf course and still start hitting bad shots, and I almost start believing that I'm a bad guy, It was kind of weird.
Yeah, and this game is tough. Yeah, you know, these are people at the end of the day, and yeah, he got paid a lot of money for it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't difficult for him. I'm excited to watch him more often when this hopefully comes back together. You know, you always hear about Bryson and Brooks and Rahm and DJ as the guys that we want to come back. Joaquin Niemann, he won this tournament. He won the Genesis Invitational in dominant fashion not too long ago. Still super young. So, yeah, really looking forward to watching Joaquin Niemann. We had Bryson being just a total showman. He went up on a balcony to find a golf ball. I don't know exactly the context, but there was a very rich image of Bryson on a balcony shooting, you know, with a rangefinder or finding a yardage in some capacity. So that was awesome. Yeah, there he is. There's big Bryson. Those people, what a thrill for them. They get the U.S. Open champion and YouTube star on their balcony. Yeah, really good stuff. They see the cameras, they're waving at the cameras, just good stuff all around. One of the things that's awesome about Australian golf and the Grange, where the tournament was specifically, is the bunkers. These bunkers are so sharp, they're cut right into the green. I just absolutely love this style. It's very different than what you see. You know, a lot of like the Gil Hanse renovations and stuff, you get these eyebrows above the bunkers. Look at how sharp these are. They go right into the green. And I'm not the only person who loves, yeah, there it is. That's the shot right there. Look at that. It's the green and then it's the bunker. I'm not the only person who loves these bunkers. Here's John Rahm.
No, I've not seen
Is the greatest bunkers I've ever seen in my life.
Is that where they're really sharp around the edges?
Yeah, and they rake them flat.
All right.
So it's a special, they'll take them up.
Right.
When they rake them. So if you go on the edge, it just off all the way to the middle of the bunker.
It's actually, they play nicely too, because you don't get those kind of weird shots like Maverick McNeely had where you got 1 foot in the bunker. It's either kind of in the bunker or not in the bunker, and it feels like more balls end up going in the bunker. I know you can't do, you need a certain turf conditions. I'm just saying, Australian golf courses have the turf conditions. They've obviously got crazy fans. Like Dom Dalla, who is a Australian, he played this massive show inside a golf ball. Fisher played, I mean, look at that crowd. Like, I can't fathom how we've forgotten so much about Australia and their rich golf history. All right, we're gonna move on from LIV. Charlie Hole, so she played the Ladies European Tour event this week, and she was asked, you know, what is your goal this week? And as usually happens when she talks, it makes headlines. Here's Charlie Hole.
What's your number one goal for this season?
It's not really a golf course goal. I want to try and get my 5K run down to 20 minutes by the end of the year.
Where are you at the moment?
26.
Nice.
Your approach to that, is that helping you, do you think, with golf at all as well?
I don't train for golf. I have zero interest in training for golf. I think golf training is a load of rubbish. I just train because it's good for my mental health and it's good for me, and I want to be an athlete. I just don't want to be a golfer. And I enjoy it. It's like a hobby. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I do.
I love how candid she is. I love the figure that she's become in the game. I am not a doctor, but I think maybe cutting down on the cigarettes might help the run time. That's just a thought. In the YouTube world, Bryson DeChambeau finally broke 50 on his series break 50, but he did it with 3 guys. It was him, Grant Horvat, and Garrett Clark. The initial concept was trying to break 50 with 2 guys, but they did it. I'm sure the video has 27 billion views by now. And here was a very interesting promo.
Dude, I can't believe we're about to do it for the first time.
Yeah, dude, it's going to feel so good when we finally do it.
We really couldn't have created a better threesome.
They're making
this
sex
one has
jokes.
to go in. Sorry, boys. It's not happening.
It did happen, though. They shot 48, and then wrapping us up here on the knockaround on the Champions Tour, Justin Leonard. My good friend Carl told me this was his first win in over 6,000 days. That's a lot of days. It's always funny, like whenever something happens for the first time in a long time, instead of saying, you know, this is the first time someone's won in 10 years or 15 years or whatever, you say days and it sounds like a lot more. He was very emotional. It's cool to see that it still means that much to these guys. Here's Justin Leonard after winning. I think he won by 4. Oh, this is Rocco Mediate, which is cool.
Feel like good drives?
Love Rocco Mediate. He had some vibes this week. Yeah, if you're not following Rocco Mediate on Twitter, on Instagram, you probably should be. He's just a vibe, playing in shades with the cigar. I think we do have that clip of Justin Leonard talking about his win. So let's roll the Justin Leonard clip.
It's been a long time since I've won, and I tell myself all the time,
that I have one.
Yeah.
But you know, it's easy to kind of forget a little bit and say, well, you know, is it going to be? And I mean, last year was so bad, it was good. It was good for me. Made some changes with my golf swing, and it's so fun to finally be here. Because I always felt like I would be, but it's nice to finally get it done.
Yeah, good stuff all around the world of golf this week. We're going to jump back into a little bit of a Tory recap. We're going to go deeper here. So the rough was just brutal this week. I mean, I had a tweet on, I think this was Tuesday or Wednesday, just showing a picture of the rough, and it rained all day Tuesday and Wednesday, and you can see this is like proper lettuce, and it only grew. They wanted to let it grow for the week. And with how moist it was just really brutal. And our guys at Scratch put together this awesome compilation of guys just really struggling to get it out of the rough this week. We got Rory trying to muscle one out here. Scotty, you saw a lot of these kind of right leg coming through on the follow through. Jordan Spieth around the greens, it was brutal. Ludvig, who ended up winning the tournament, watching. Look at that clump of grass on his club. You know, it was that sort of week all week. Fairways were at an absolute premium. I'm just in awe that these guys score as well as they do when the rough was that long. Rory McIlroy, though, on Thursday didn't seem to have as much trouble. He managed to spin one back from the rough. Look at this clip. This is like some sorcery, and yeah, it's a back pin, and he landed into the slope. But how does that ball spin back? That's where, like, you think about Rory and long hitters and strength and where it helps a lot off the tee, but it also helps with generating speed like that out of the rough. An incredible shot from Rory McIlroy. Ludvig Åberg, so winning the tournament, he played the par threes in 9 under for the week. That is out of control. He had 7 birdies and this ace, which we're about to show you right now.
Åberg ready with a pitching wedge at 3.
Pretty good hole to have an ace. 3rd hole at Torrey South. Beautiful day, lands right past the pin, spins back straight into the hole. Again, 9 under for the week. His irons were so dialed. That's how you win golf tournaments. You know, you hit it close to the hole, and you don't have to worry about hitting the fairway if you're going to play the par threes in 9 under for the week. Jordan Spieth, you know, we had that great week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. If you thought this was going to be linear, you know, that he was just going to be back, you haven't really been paying attention for the last couple years, and he's just so demonstrative. The way he talks through every single shot. He hit this, let's roll this clip, he hit this hook, and I want you guys to listen to him. He's just completely perplexed after it.
That is a quick hook. You got to wonder about the water on the ball there.
Penalty area down the left side.
Yeah.
Hit a hook in a long time.
It's like a 12. I haven't hit a hook in a while. Where did that come from? Jason Day, you know, this is earned media. He is dressing so well that we can't not talk about it. This was the fit that caught attention this week with that cardigan. Look at it. It looks perfect with the sky in the background. We actually ran a story about this on our website. He continues to be the style icon of the PGA Tour. We had a meeting with Jay Monahan on Wednesday where he was updating us as much as he could. He's still, you know, he's not at liberty to discuss anything specific, but about kind of the nature of the negotiations. And what he said was, you know, this is not, there has been some reporting, and I think we might have said this on the last show, that, you know, this negotiation was a financial transaction between the Saudi Public Investment Fund and the PGA Tour, and not a separate sort of conversation from bringing the game back together. That's not what Jay Monahan said. He said that the goal of the negotiation is the reunification of the professional game on one tour with all the best players on it. He said it's one negotiation. It's interesting because Scott O'Neill, who is the CEO of LIV Golf, said basically the opposite, and then LIV also just signed an extension with Australia, LIV Australia, to have the event there from until 2031. So it doesn't seem like LIV is going away. So I don't know, one tour maybe has a LIV component to it. But yeah, I know everyone's tired of hearing about this. But Rory McIlroy played golf with Trump a few weeks ago and had something pretty interesting to say.
He can do a lot of things. He can also, you know, he has direct access to Yasser's boss. Not many people have that. Not many people can, you know, say, you know, I want you to get this deal done. And by the way, I'm speaking to your boss later. I'm going to tell him the same thing. Yeah, I played golf with him a few weeks ago. Yeah, and it was great. Yeah, it was really good. I learned that he's not a fan of the LIV format, which was, I was like, but you you've hosted their events. He's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean that I like it. But so I think he's on the tour side.
Did that round take place before?
He's on the tour side. It's interesting because he's been to all these live events. He has tweeted some stuff about the tour that hasn't been super nice, and he's hosted a lot of these events. But Rory seems to believe that he's on the tour side. There was some talk about aim point. We talked about this last week about Lucas Glover wanting to ban aim point as a pace of play discussion, sort of an etiquette discussion. Well, one guy who uses aim point frequently is Colin Morikawa, and he fired back this week in his press conference.
I have nothing against Lucas, but I mean, if we're banning aim point, I think we should ban long putters as well. And
that was me who made that noise.
Right? From my perspective, aim point has 1,000% helped me. I listen to the announcers sometimes during play, and they say, "Why would you aim point this, and that?" It gets a basis of how I read a putt and where I start my lines. It's just like reading something from behind the hole or behind the ball. That's how I'm getting my general read for that. So I don't think people understand how aim point works to really say this is right or wrong. Does it slow down play? I think there are some players that maybe do it in the wrong spots, and sometimes, look, I'll admit it, yeah, maybe I can't get in when I want to, so it adds a couple more seconds, but I know that and I'm aware of that. I think players need to be aware if they're slow or not, right? Like, let people know who is slow and do something about it, right?
I hope we release the files. I know the PGA Tour has the average stroke time for every golfer who plays on the PGA Tour. Let's just release those files. I give you my phone number. You can send them to me. Just release the files. Tiger Woods withdrew from the tournament early in the week after the passing of his mother, but he did hop in the booth and give some more evidence or support for the suggestion that this deal is pretty close.
A meeting with the president. Unfortunately, I had some other circumstances that came up. But Jay and Adam, they did great during the meeting, and we have another subsequent meeting coming up. So I think that things are going to heal quickly. We're going to get this game going in the right direction. It's been heading in the wrong direction for a number of years, and the fans want all of us to play together, all the top players playing together, and we're going to make that happen.
I know there's so many things that have to be figured out, but it could be this year, or it could be very soon this year, sounds like.
Yes, and yes.
Okay, that's good.
I am a little bit at the point, and I imagine a lot of you where it's like, stop telling us it's close. I almost just don't want to hear about it until it's done. Scotty Scheffler, he's been on the first page of the leaderboard in his 3 starts since slicing his hand open with a wine glass. He had a top 10 in his first start of the year at Pebble Beach, and then he was up there for a little bit on Sunday at the WM Phoenix Open before dropping back. And then this week, a really strong finish at Torrey Pines. We've got some highlights here showing Scotty. And I think, what is so underrated about him is how good his short game is. The guy chips in so freaking often. This was on the 5th hole. He made a serious run on the front 9. You thought he would be the one to challenge. Kind of fell out of it, but then this bunker shot, which got really lucky. I don't know, how did the hole catch that ball? Never seems to happen for me. He struggled a little bit this week with the left miss, especially with the driver. Looked out of sorts, but this was a really good swing on the 18th hole on Sunday. Gave himself an opportunity to post 10 under par. Wasn't able to eventually make the putt, but all systems are firing. It's still 2 months away from the Masters, where he will be the heavy favorite. He's still the best player on the planet, and he's getting the rust out. So a really, really strong final round for Scotty Scheffler after shooting 76 on Saturday, which is worse than the field. So positive signs for Scotty. So we're going to bring in our first guest, which is Dr. Brett McCabe, who works with some of the best golfers in the world. Brett, I believe you are joining us live on the line. Dr. Brett, Dr. McCabe, Dr. What do I call you?
Brett works for me.
Okay, Brett. When it's going to be horrible weather like it was on Thursday and Friday, what do you tell your players?
Well, there's a reason why guys play better in bad weather, and one of the reasons is that they lock in and focus. And so you're always in a battle between this feeling of feeling great, right, and having to manage your game. And I often say, and some of my swing coach buddies, we often talk about the fear of having guys that are clicking on all cylinders on Wednesdays. It's usually never a great spot to be. But the problem is that when a player is playing great, they allow their mind to expand. They start expecting more. When the weather's poor, they are so good playing shot to shot. And so it's kind of like, I'm sure you've never done it, but I've heard the stories of people who play hungover and they tend to play better, right?
Not once, yeah, I've never done it.
Yeah, it's happened on occasion. The reason is that we stay so granular in what we're doing. We lower our expectations and we tend to play better. So I just tell them, listen, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough, but we're going to stay in the moment. And the other thing too about it is nobody's going to run away with it.
Yeah. You don't have to shoot something. You don't have to shoot 65 in order to move up the board. You work with guys such different ages, like Billy Horschel, is creeping up till 40. I know you've done some work with Nick Dunlap, who's barely 21. What is that like? Do you have to sort of tailor your message to a guy based on where they are in their life?
Well, so something happened a couple of years ago when the distance things were going crazy, and you had guys that felt like they had to do something more. Cameron Champs and Bryson bombing it, as far as he was. And honestly, that fad has kind of stopped. I think that was more of a threat than his age. These guys are tremendously skilled at what they do, and their bodies are in absolute optimum shape. I mean, we're bitching and moaning that LeBron didn't play in the All-Star game last night, but he's over 40. Right? Back in the day, an over 40-year-old looked like an over 40-year-old. They don't look like they do now. Billy's one of the most fit guys on the PGA Tour. If you probably looked at him like a tree, he would have, he would still be vibrant. Like if you cut it, like it wouldn't be that way. What I try to do is get the younger guys to learn the wisdom from the older guys. Those older guys have learned the hints, the secrets, the tricks of what it takes to succeed out there. And it's really not, and this is something that parents have to understand that are watching this, it's really not about how great you hit it. It's really not about how many putts you make. Golf is about resiliency, and it's going through the down moments, and those older guys still do it. Like young guys come out, and they look amazing on the range. And then you got Matt Kuchar out there who's in his mid to late 40s. It's killing it, right? Like those are the things that you have to look at is like, how do these players continue to get better? They have players that have a much better mental framework. They understand what they have and what they don't have. They know how to get the ball in the hole with their less than A game. If we're having to measure everybody on their A games, then it's a talent contest. But when we have golf courses that have changing demands, rough, fast greens, challenging tee shots, we take talent and we make it one element of the game. Scotty didn't have his best stuff this week.
Yeah,
It's
a really interesting point where it's like it's not a driving range competition, and if it was, it would probably skew more toward the younger guys. What's the biggest misconception about the mental game? I know there's some guys you read some things that make you go crazy. What's the biggest misconception people have about golf?
Well, there's so many different things that I see. Kind of like there's so many myths of the mental game. Is that you got to have a calm mind and anxiety and nerves are a problem. Look, the biggest misconception of the mental game is that the best players do something different under the big moments to be clutch. They don't. They just play closer to their average, if that makes sense. Okay, we know that from science. We know that on how it works. And the way the process boils down to is success is being able to execute in the moment with what you have to get the best outcome. And we play probabilities. I think the really big thing that we look at that I hate is that we look at a player and so you take a Ludvig and you go, wow, he doesn't show much emotion. It's not that he's not experiencing emotion. He's Swedish, right? I have another client that's Spaniard that shows emotion. And the last thing we want to do is limit that. I don't want Billy. I mean, watching Billy right before I came on playing TGL, I want them to be emotional. Like, I hate when I hear a coach say, if I walked up to you on the 8th hole, I should not know what you're shooting. Like, why would we want to spend any energy limiting it? Now, don't do anything that disrespects the game, yourself, your product, the people around you, okay? But emotion is what allows us to lock into what we do, and it's okay to play with emotion. If you're going to put your heart and soul on the line, then it's going to require an emotional connection and glue to it.
You mentioned that Spaniard. It's John Rahm. You've worked with him for a number of years. When he went to LIV, how difficult was it, like, for you, the work that you did? Because I imagine a lot of the work that you do is mostly like golf course focused, but this was a whole nother element that he had to deal with.
Well, John kind of calls me his life coach, and that's a better place. I've actually never done a whole lot with him on the golf course. Okay. And I do. I'm not. He has a guy he's also grown up with in Spain for many years. I don't know if he still uses him, but LIV was about a change in demands in life and what he did, and John has handled it beautifully. And I hate to hear when I see bot accounts or fake accounts or people talking about regret or all that. Look, players, I'm just going to say this, the PGA Tour, you and I have talked about this offline. I mean, it's a shame that all this has happened, and there was probably business schools that will evaluate this for years to come at the inadequacies and ineptitudes that happened, as well as an immovable force that came in. So I don't begrudge anybody in leadership. I don't think that but I think when players are being presented with generational wealth for their families, to go out and play a game, to do things that are great, it takes an adjustment, but yet he's still performing at the top. I know one of your colleagues in the media tends to rail on him in majors. There were some factors involved with the majors last year. Okay. He had to withdraw from Pinehurst due to an infection on his foot. Was nasty. Augusta, it's very hard to defend there. You have so much ceremonial stuff going on. And so it's a bogus argument by somebody sitting in the peanut stand throwing stuff. Majors are tough. They happen 4 times a year. And very few people consistently perform at majors time and time again. It has nothing to do about where they train. They compete and play. Okay. They're playing against the best player. Eventually, we're all going to get back together and everyone's going to realize. And I think I heard you talking about LIV Australia. I think there'll be a LIV format. I think there'll be a PGA Tour format, and best players, what we want to see, best players and the players playing. John's one of the best players in the world. Let's go play. And he's managed it brilliantly. One of John's assets is John surrounds himself with high performers across many different domains in his life. He's not a golf nerd where he hangs with golf nerds. He's got, Michael Phelps around him, J.J. Watt, and, he's got people, Larry Fitzgerald. He's got people from multiple sports that are always around him. He's got a tremendous resource in his wife at home and his families. And so he's very balanced. He's great. He wants to win. And that's the competitor in him.
You wrote a book recently called Kick Anxiety's Ass. That is quite a catchy title. Well, walk us through what you go through in that book.
So I'm a clinician, ultimately. I'm one of the few guys that's out there that's a clinician and a performance
Meaning
coach.
You see patients?
I have, yeah. I focus 100% of my time now with athletes who are high performers that are having some dual clinical issues or performance. But as a clinician, I also suffered from anxiety. I had panic attacks when I was in grad school. I've always been anxious, and probably 60% of my referrals that come in tend to have an anxiety component. And I thought to myself, look, let's write a book that actually speaks to the truth and doesn't, and even in an argument in my own field is telling me how to treat somebody with anxiety. It doesn't work. I've tried it. And I got turned on to a concept called ACT several years ago called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, written by a guy by the name of Stephen Hayes, who's just a brilliant psychologist. And it really was an eye-opening thing for me. And so what I wanted people to understand is that you can succeed and be successful in life despite having anxiety or depression or whatever. It's how we understand how to face it. This book doesn't tell you how you're going to get rid of anxiety. It's going to tell you how you're going to manage it and understand that what you feel may be the weather, how you're doing may be the climate. Sometimes there's climates that's a little bit more volatile. We have to be prepared of it. We have to learn to be aware. We have to learn to accept it. We have to learn how to stay anchored in what we do. And then still take action. And so to me, one of the things that happens is people come in that are suffering, whether it's in golf or performance. I want to fix this. There's no fix. There's growth. There's development. There's building through it. And that's what this book was about. And it's been great. It's really not a sports book. It has a lot of sports analogies, but it's really a book for people who are suffering from anxiety. And I didn't do the whole game of pre-launch. I didn't do any of that. I just said, screw it. Let's publish it. Let's go. I self-published it. It's the third one I've self-published. I'm like, let's get it out there. And I wanted it to be an organic build, and it's doing great. And it's been out for over a year. And the number of people that send me messages or stop me when I'm out on tour is like, thank you so much for writing this book. It's not a BS book. It's not take a deep breath and relax. It's, look, when you're having a panic attack and you're in a full throw, or you're going through something in your life and it's really hard, you're prepared for it. You can manage it. You can turn towards it. You don't have to, suppress it or push it back.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Doctor. I'm going to call you Doctor. You earned that title.
That's always good.
We'll talk to you again soon. One of the guys who definitely struggles with anxiety is Keegan Bradley. He's fantastic. It's such a good mustache. It's hard to believe you didn't go to it earlier. Have you ever had it before, and is it here to stay?
I've never had it.
I had a bad week at Pebble, so it was on the chopping block, and my family convinced me to keep it.
They like it.
They love it. If it wasn't for them, I would have cut it off by now.
My dad had a mustache for the first 20 years of my life or something, and then he shaved it. We couldn't look at him. It was like, it looks, if you take it off, it's going to look different.
I know, and if I have a really good week or I win or something, then I got to keep it forever, which I don't want.
Rangefinders. They're talking about testing, allowing you guys using them to try to speed up plays. Is it going to make a difference?
Oh, I think it's a no-brainer. Like, we play golf every day of our lives. The amateurs play with rangefinders. All it does is make things easier. I mean, we're still getting the same numbers we'd get from the fairway. Like, I think it's common sense.
Yeah. It's one thing to talk about. It's one thing to talk about balancing being the Ryder Cup captain and playing a full schedule. You're doing it now. Mm-hmm. How are you handling it?
It's tough. I'm thinking about the Ryder Cup at every moment. Even when I'm trying not to, I still have thoughts. And really, when I get inside the ropes, is sort of when I don't think about it. So it's kind of been therapeutic for me to get inside the ropes, because I do feel I have the obligation to the guys to do the right thing and be prepared.
Are you have a running list of 12 that you're keeping? Are you not even at that point yet? Like, how do you actually go about thinking about this?
Well, you have the main guys that are, up there, best players in the world. And then you have, the guys that, maybe 10 to 20 guys that could be on the team. And I sort of been keeping an eye on them, but we're still way too early. I think once we get past the U.S. Open, second major, then we can really start to see how the team's going to take shape.
Well, I just got to say, you look much more like a captain with the mustache.
I agree, actually.
Yeah, I think it gives some authority.
Yes, I agree.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, kid.
He's got to keep it. He has to keep the mustache at least. There's the U.S. Ryder Cup captain should have a mustache like that, and he's also got flag and anthem, so he just looks the part. We're going to make some picks now. I know this. You think this is a little bit too early. There's still quite a lot of time before the Ryder Cup, but it's never too early for this, and it's been, we've had some signature events. The West Coast swing is over, so we're not going to do this every single week, but we're going to take maybe after the Players or something, and we'll do this again. And I'm going to bring on a European counterpart here. Luke Curdanine, who I love, does awesome content in the instructional space over at Golf Digest. Luke, talk to me, my friend.
Dan, how are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. So we're going to make our picks now. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to make one pick, and then you're going to make one pick, and we're going to fill out our rosters of 12, and we're going to talk about briefly why we're picking these guys, and then we'll run through some of the guys who are the first names out. So my first pick, this is not going to shock you. If it does, then I don't know what you've been doing, is Scotty Scheffler. I feel like I don't even really need to add that one. So who is your first pick?
Yeah, same over here on this side of the pond. Rory McIlroy, obviously my first pick. I mean, honestly, I was thinking about this. I feel like outside of winning the Masters, Rory sneaky cares about the Ryder Cup more than anything else these days. The switch really flipped at Hazeltine, I think, and he's just the perfect person to be leading the line.
Yeah, and he's set the stakes. I mean, he's said that one of the things, like you said, other than winning the Masters, winning a road Ryder Cup is something that he really wants to do again. So my number 2 pick, I kind of debated moving this guy down the list, but he won 2 majors last year, so I'm going with Xander Schauffele. Hasn't really started his season yet. Had that one start at Bay Hill, or sorry, not at Bay Hill. Had that one start at Century. Hopefully he'll be back for Bay Hill. I'm going with Xander as my second pick.
Yeah, got to go Xander. On my side, I'm going with Jon Rahm. Obviously, his quality speaks for itself. The biggest thing is that it's quite hard to get a gauge for his game right now because his majors were weird last year because of the injuries, as Brett just mentioned. And, LIV is a bit of a data black hole. There's no shot link, but the quality speaks for itself, right? Jon Rahm's going to be the second man in my opinion.
Yeah, and just the emotional, the leader, him with those fans could be box office. My third pick is Colin Morikawa. He had a second place finish to start the year, 2 T17s in the other signature events. He's fiery. I like that clip with the aim point. He's got a little bit of an edge. I feel like he's definitely a lock.
Yeah, he's a lock. Another fiery guy, Tyrrell Hatton. I mean, the only reason you wouldn't pick Tyrrell Hatton, who's in really good form since going to LIV, and he's got a natural partnership with Rahm, is just because you hold some kind of grudge. And if the Europeans are out there using their team at Bethpage Black to hold grudges, there's just 0% chance of winning, right? Tyrrell Hatton's playing well. He's kind of a fiery character. I kind of feel like he'd relish being in that crowd, so he's straight in.
Yeah, I think Rory said he will be brilliant at Bethpage. My fourth pick, Bryson DeChambeau. Wasn't on the team in 2023. This is a big ballpark. It's going to be playing long. It's going to be playing juicy. Bryson will bring the fans out there. You know, the reigning United States Open champion. He was contended at the Masters. He finished second at the PGA Championship. Like you said, I'm not really putting too much stock into what's going on LIV, but Bryson will be there.
Yeah. Next up, I've got a few guys I could pick here, but I'm going to put a bit of a show of faith in Viktor Hovland because I feel like there's always a guy like this, a top talent, a really top player whose form just isn't quite there. And in some ways, I feel like a high pick in this case, but also just like a show of faith in someone like Viktor Hovland can help like focus the mind a little bit, right? It can just get the juices flowing, and then it can kind of kickstart them into not like a second wind of their career, but just can get them back on the right track. I feel like Viktor Hovland, he was so good in Rome. I think he's going to be fantastic in Bethpage, and obviously, all things equal, one of the top 3 players in the European team.
I mean, this guy is a good segue. This is kind of that guy who was in that mold last year. It's Justin Thomas is my 5th pick, but he's playing much, much better. He's got 3 top 10s in 4 starts to start the year. Look, if he's going to be on the team when he's playing ass like he was in 2023, I think he's going to be on the team this year. He's number 6 in Data Golf's world rankings right now, so playing some really, really good stuff.
Yeah. Next up, I got Tommy Fleetwood, who just seems like he's made for the Ryder Cup at this point. He almost feels like the Ian Poulter of our generation. The thing I love about Tommy Fleetwood, too, is that it feels like he's not just kind of elite skill set, but he could do like any number of things pairings-wise, right? He's a good ball striker. He's like an affable character. He's clutch when it comes to the Ryder Cup. And so, again, you can just play around with him in a bunch of different ways. You could pair him with a Rory, you could pair him with a rookie, and you feel like he would get the point no matter what. He's just such a stalwart in this team now. You have to pick him.
Yeah, I feel like anyone, when they get paired with Tommy, they just smile. They're like, oh, I get to play with Tommy today. Patrick Cantlay is going to be my next pick. He was excellent in the President's Cup. Played well at the U.S. Open last year and after Hatgate last year. You know, he seemed to kind of relish that villain role. So Cantlay's on my team.
Yep, Ludvig Åberg. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Åberg. He might be the best player, honestly.
Yeah,
by the time
I'm surprised that he dropped this low.
I know. Well, he got the win yesterday, so maybe I would power rank him up a little bit. But you know what? Like respect to the stalwarts. This is just his 2nd Ryder Cup, but it's just a perfect course fit for Bethpage. I think he's going to win at Oakmont, right? Like he's perfect. Again, he's another perfect fit. There's a lot of courses that are perfect fits when you drive the ball like Ludwig does. And again, he's a sneaky good putter. Like there's just what is not to like about this guy? You could do it. He's going to play 5 matches or at least 4 as he should.
Yeah, he is. I feel like you can pencil him, and you could pen him in for the next probably 5 to 10 of these. My next pick is Russell Henley. This guy's a dog, capital D dog, Georgia Bulldog. The other guys talk about him with such deep respect. He was good at the President's Cup. I expect him to make this team just a really, really consistent ball striker, really good for foursomes, for alternate shot, just hits the ball very, very straight, kind of an even character. You know, it's going to be so rowdy and so hectic. You got to have some guys who are pretty level-headed. So I would pick Russell Henley.
Yeah, a good driver of the ball too, which brings me to my number 1 favorite golf swing in golf.
Okay, that's big coming from you because you're a golf swing guy.
Big golf swing guy, Sepp Straka, number 1 in my rankings right now, and middle of the order here. He's turning into a little bit of a rock in the middle of the order. But, one thing that's interesting, a little anecdote for you, Dan, is that Sepp, he doesn't hit it the furthest. He's a big guy, but doesn't hit the furthest. But he's been working on an extra speed kind of drive right now, where he really goes at it. He calls it his donkey swing. And he's doing this specifically with an eye towards Bethpage when he does need to lean on something a little extra, squeeze out a few yards. So I'm excited about this. I think, I'm a big Sepp Straka fan on multiple fronts. I think he's really turning into this good, middle order guy for Europe.
Yeah, and also, I'm just looking at your list. Rory's won this year, Tyrrell's won this year, Ludwig's won this year, Sepp's won this year. I got 0 wins on my team, but again, there's a lot of time before Bethpage. We're going with Tony Finau. Again, big ballpark. He's got an electric game. He's now working a little bit with Chris Como, which is new. He's worked with Boyd Summerhays for basically his entire career. Chris Como's done amazing work, kind of helped Bryson through the bulk up. He's worked with Xander Schauffele and got him hitting the ball farther, which helped him win those 2 majors last year. So Tony's my pick.
Nice. Bobby Max, next up, Pride of Scotland. There's not too much to say on this front, other than I think he's a better player now than he was in Rome. And he's got one under his belt because of Rome, too. Kind of just a fantastic experience, even though he wasn't playing that well. If we think back during that week itself, it was kind of a storyline. But, decent form, really accurate player. Just again, he's the kind of guy who'd roll out 2, maybe 3 times, and you'd feel pretty good about sort of eating some innings, for lack of a better
word. I like. Wow, you have been in America a long time. I've got underneath your thing. It says he claims he's British. You keep saying stuff like eating innings. We might have to bring on a different correspondent for this. I'm just kidding.
I know. You talk about cricket stuff.
Yeah, exactly. My next pick. This one's a little outside the box. I'm going with Akshay. Akshay Bhatia would be a Ryder Cup rookie. Look at the shoulder mobility there. Maybe that's when he hurt his shoulder. That is such a... I did not know that what picture we were going to use. His shoulder is so far back there. I don't know. Yeah, that just struck me. But he's playing really, really well this year. And I want some moxie. I want some young energy. So I would pick Akshay.
Yeah, it's a good one. It feels like he'd drink it in too. Speaking of energy, Shane Lowry is my next pick. It always feels like Shane should be pushing up like the qualifying order a little bit more. And it always seems to sneak in a little lower than we'd like. But listen, like at this point in the lineup, I'm starting to look... Unless your form is spectacular, which it wouldn't be if you're in this part of the lineup, I'm kind of looking for defined skill sets, right? Like guys who you think would pair well with other guys in pairings. Shane Lowry's obviously a fantastic vibes guy, but he's just got this elite short game. And at a place like Bethpage, which is long, and you're going to be everyone's going to be missing greens no matter what because of the rough. When you have a short game ability like Shane Lowry, in addition to all the kind of intangible character skills that he brings, I think you could do a lot of things with Shane.
I think he's a heart and soul guy. You know what I mean? Like you ask the guys on the team, who's the funniest guy? Who's the one who lights up the team room? Shane Lowry's always the answer. You want to talk about a course fit? I'm going with Brooksy. I'm going with Brooks Koepka. I know that his form in the majors last year wasn't anything to write home about. The LIV stuff. He's playing solid over there, but I can't get 2019 out of my head. He won a major championship at Bethpage the last time I was there. He brought that course to its knees. Shot 64, I think, in the first round. Like hardly missed. I can't not pick him at Bethpage Black.
Yeah, you got to pick Brooks. So the one and only rookie in my team is Aaron Rai. And he's the most accurate driver on tour last season, and he was the second best iron player. So, that's obviously a pretty good combination. That's why he was in the top 10s of strokes gained tee to green, despite not hitting it that far. And again, I just really like his skill set. Like, this is kind of a Fleetwood Straka skill set, right? I just believe in his game, and I think it will suit him pretty well. Like, this is a guy who hits it straight and hits his irons well. You could pair him with a fairly long hitter out at Bethpage, and they would be a pretty fun. Like, you would pair him with Victor Hovland, let's say, like a longer hitting ball striking and he would that seems like a pairing that would probably push pretty hard for a point. So again, you can do a lot of things with the skill set like that.
He is the nicest person in the world. I feel like he's going to hear things that week that he's never heard before. I'm going to go with Denny McCarthy. I want some putters, some guys who can just scrap it around and frustrate the crap out of you because they make an 18-footer for par before you. And we get some Mongolian reversal. Shout out Saad Gala. You got 10 feet for birdie. He's got 18 feet for par. He makes you misses, and you look at him. You're like, how the hell did I not win that hole? Denny is the best putter in the world. Has been for a little while. Is playing much better tee to green. Contended yesterday. He's had some close calls and some big events on some big hard golf courses like Torrey Pines, like the Memorial. I want Denny on my team.
Yeah, speaking of good putters, this is going to be the pick that if I was captain in this fictional universe, that would get me a lot of heat.
Yeah, Fitzy, after all the Ryder Cup struggles he's had.
Yeah, but though to be fair, like this is one where you got to dig into the details because he was like paired with Westwood out at Whistling Straits, and that was a really tough pairing, and he kind of got a little unlucky. But again, he's really not playing well right now. But I'd kind of put him in the Hovland mold here, where class is permanent and form is temporary. And again, just a truly elite putter, one of the best putters of his generation. And again, the Ryder Cup can correct the ship when it comes to form in some ways. It's such a unique, weird thing. But when you've got a putting ability like Matt Fitzpatrick, that's the guy you want staring down a must-make putt.
There's a lot of talk about the All-Star game in the NBA and like how bad it is, and maybe do we need to change it up? If there was an NBA All-Star or an PGA Tour All-Star weekend and there was a putting competition, I would like to watch those two just hit right to left 6-footers, left to right 6-footers. Maybe I'm just a nerd, but my last pick is Maverick McNeely. You go with the hot hand. I don't know if he's going to end up making the team, but if the Ryder Cup were tomorrow, which was the concept for this segment, I would pick Maverick. He won in November. He won so many times in college, and you wonder if that win in November kind of unlocked something, a little bit of confidence on that I can do this at this level too, and I'm not just a great college player. I still have time to win a bunch of tournaments in my career, so I'm choosing Maverick McNeely to round out my team.
You mentioned hot hands there, and the thing is that
wow, Sergio.
There aren't really many hot hands. So when I look at the board,
no Dietrich.
I see a guy who's in pretty good form. I see a guy who's got a 4th, a 10th, and a 3rd in his last 4 starts at Bethpage. All-time Ryder Cup leading point scorer. Data Golf says he has a 50% chance of making the team. And again, incredibly good ball striker. It's likely not going to happen, but again, there's nobody out there who's tearing it and winning. There is no Lucas Glover figure on the European side right now. We'll get to someone like Thomas Detry, but his form does not look like what Lucas's did. And Sergio has just been the stalwart through the generations and good at Bethpage. Like, why not?
That would make John Rahm very happy, and it would be the Bethpage fans had their way with him early in his career. It would be quite into. God, I'm so damn excited for this. I just can't believe it's still so far away. We talk about it, I get even more excited. I'm going to run through some of my first guys out. Sam Burns, he's definitely the highest ranked guy I don't have on this list. He's played with Scotty a bunch in the past. I just didn't love what I saw at the Ryder Cup in Italy. Saw Theegala. Is a guy who made the President's Cup, is a huge personality, super friendly, can play with anyone. Just a little concern with his driving at Bethpage, even though he has improved it. Jake Knapp. I think Jake Knapp, if he plays big ballparks very well and has a sort of an electric game, and I think about all the fans making Knapp signs, and I like what I hear. And then Keegan, but I just don't think that Keegan emotionally could handle it.
Yeah, that's interesting. My next 3 out. So Rasmus Højgaard is the kind of the last man standing here. The reason why I didn't pick him in this format is because I just need to see a little bit more, especially in the US. He's played well in some DP World Tour events. He'd probably be a shoe-in if the Ryder Cup was over there. But in Bethpage in America, where his best finish, I believe, is T12, and that was at the Phoenix Open last week. I need to see a little bit more before trotting out a rookie in this incredibly hostile environment. Same goes for Thomas Detry. I mean, he had a blazing hot putter in Phoenix. He was incredible. So impressive the way he closed out that win. But again, a little bit more consistency is what I need, I think, before. It's a slightly higher bar I have for rookies, but that's what I would say with Detry. And then Justin Rose, who was so good in Rome. I still can't believe how many putts Justin Rose made in Rome. It was incredible. But the fact is that since the PGA last year, so almost coming up on almost a year, he's had 2 top 10 finishes. One of those was at Pebble, where he won before. So again, a little more consistency from those 3, and I think they could easily find their way.
Yeah, I feel like Sergio's kind of filling the Justin Rose elder statesman role that you have on your team right now. Well, thank you so much, Luke. I'm very excited. Now I have to wait for many, many months, but we'll do this again soon. I like my team. I'm sure you like your team. May the best team
cheers,
win.
Dan. This was fun. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Dog of the Week. Really excited about this one. Our Dog of the Week, which is a play on Dan on Golf, welcome to the show, is an absolute superstar, a very, very special person, a special, special guy. Robby Berger, also known as Bobby Fairways, is joining us live on the line. There he is. You got me?
Yeah, I was enjoying the show. I was kind of hoping you just wouldn't call me on. I was liking it.
You were the reason you're Dog of the Week, which is we give that award to someone who shows some grit. You were supposed to come on last week. Waste Management happened. It happened, and I just think a star of your. So I saw you on the range in Phoenix, and I was just fucking freaking out about this show and telling you how stressed I was. We're doing okay.
Doing okay. I mean, to be honest, I don't ever see you really rattled. Like you were really excited, ready to rock and roll. But you could tell you were kind of talking yourself. You almost needed to talk to me in order to talk yourself through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be beautiful. You caddied that week for Wyndham Clark. And every time I see you, I think we have a split screen here. You just look like a slightly less handsome Wyndham Clark. Are other people making this call, or is it just me that's obsessed with it?
No, I to be honest with you, Dan, like I was okay with it. I thought it was totally fine. I liked it. To me, Wyndham's a good looking guy. Now we're pretty close friends, but he just always hated it. And I guess because he does think that he's better looking. And in his defense, he's put a lot of muscle on. He's leaned out to where like, yeah, I would tip the cap and say he's the better looking guy for sure. I love it. He hates it.
Yeah, that's the way life works sometimes. I mean, Bob Does Sports, you guys are an absolute rocket ship. I think you guys are creeping up close to 1 million subscribers here, which I'm sure is probably still surreal. Do you ever have moments where you just kind of think like, because you were working, what was it, security at the Four Seasons, and now you got all these players who you're more famous than they are. Is it surreal for you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I was we were at the Four Seasons. I was a guest services manager, not really thinking that it would like turn in to what it's turned into. But I think, we don't go to too many tournaments throughout the year, but I think each one we go to, like it had been a while since we've been to a tournament. We went to Waste Management last year, but just seeing the fan base and seeing it growing is pretty wild because we could feel it when we go out there. I remember when we were in Riviera after we first started Bob Does Sports, and rather than like being like, oh, that's the brilliantly dumb guy, they started to say that's the Bob Does Sports guy. And I remember always saying to Jet, our producer, like, all right, like that's good. I mean, it's starting to grow. And now to see where it is, definitely surreal to say the least.
How buttoned up are you? I don't know if that's the right. Like, what is the planning process for a Bob Does Sports video? Is it just you guys are like, what would be fun today, or do you have like a certain kind of format you're trying to hit?
Yeah, it's a good question. To be honest, a lot of times, like sometimes even the night before, we will, like not too far out, we'll be at the dinner table all discussing kind of what we think are good ideas. Obviously, like with the fan response, that definitely helps. And then I'll be the first to tell you, we look at what other channels are doing too. Sometimes we'll be like, that's a great idea. Good Good's been doing it for a long time. Sometimes we'll see some things that they've done for play. Like we like seeing those different concepts, and then we'll all discuss it around the table. The thing that I'm seeing that people are loving more and more that we didn't really used to do in the start. Now we're doing a lot of this. People want to see stroke play because people want to see you struggle. People want to see you grind. So that's something we've tried to bring in more and more.
Yeah, stroke play is just a kick in the sack when you have to do it on camera. I don't miss that part of my job. When's the comedy special coming? When's the stand-up coming? Because I've talked to you about this every time I see you. You're not just golf internet funny. Like, you are movie star funny. Do we need to get you like a new agent? When are we getting the special? When are we making this leap?
You said that to me at the Q, actually, when you were playing in the Q.
I stand by it. It's grown like crazy, and I'm waiting for my special.
Yeah, you know what? Look, it definitely would be different for sure. I would be willing to give it a try. We did this series first FP where me and Joe playing FP, loser has to do a stand-up special, and we've just been holding off on it where we just need to pull the trigger and just go out and do it. I actually would be kind of excited to go do it 5 minutes and just see what happens from there.
I think you're ready for 45 minutes. I think you're ready for Netflix. I think we're going to make some calls. We're going to get you. No, I'm serious, dude. You cannot teach that delivery that you have and like the effect that you have on people.
I appreciate you. I think after 10, 15 minutes, people would get so sick of me. I think they'd be so out on me. And
you have 1 million people who watch you guys play golf for an hour like every week on YouTube. I think there's enough evidence to speak to the contrary.
I'll tell you this, I got enough to say to fill out 45 minutes to an hour. Like, I got enough on my mind where if they're willing to hear me, I got enough to say.
I know you do. Well, thank you so much for the dog of the week, second dog of the week. In my head, I just thought, can we mail him a dog? Don't think that's allowed, and also would probably inconvenience you greatly. But there will be a gift in the mail. Thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate you and look like you settled in real nice from the range, and happy to see you doing it, man. And I appreciate you having me on, Dan.
Thanks so much. What a guy. What a special guy. We're going to move on to an interesting topic here. So James Colgan is a reporter for golf.com who does a lot of like media reporting, a reporter who reports on other reporters. And ratings are a big topic of conversation in golf right now. Are the PGA Tour ratings down? What are the LIV ratings? And James is joining me now on the line. He stepped into a controversy that I'm calling Nielsen Gate. Walk us through what Nielsen Gate is.
Man, Dan, I don't even know where to begin on this because every time I start talking about ratings, I get more confused. I understand it less, and there are more people mad at me. So, I guess the origin point of this is that we originally got a batch of ratings involving LIV's first broadcast in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, that were quite poor. In fact, so poor that some members of the internet started to question whether they were even accurately reflected, which is ironic, of course, because Nielsen is really the only, even if it's not like 100% accurate, it's the only accurate way that we discern TV ratings of any kind. So obviously they were the best ratings we've had from involving a live broadcast since the league came into formation. So yeah, it was a fascinating thing, but ultimately I think we've come down to some central truths here, so I'm happy about that.
Well, I think we have some of these tweets that we can put up here showing what some of the people. Anyone out here reporting TV ratings is a snake oil salesman's wet dream. That was a strong one. There were more. Bruh, stop with this narrative. They had 8 other ways for people to watch the tournament. This isn't PGA where everyone flocks to one channel. LIV even has consumers paying to watch. Like, what are we doing here besides clickbait? Awesome there from Nick Nowitzki. And then Nielsen lost its credibility because their LIV viewership numbers they don't include the LIV Golf app, clearly leaving a massive discrepancy. So what does Nielsen... Oh, there's one more here. Someone call 911 for Jimmy. He's gagging on that tour. God. You know what? Maybe you should stick to being an embarrassed. I'm not going to read that one. It's too mean. I'm gonna put the kaputs on that one. What do these Nielsen ratings include, and like what should we? Because they almost feel random sometimes. Like sometimes a good tournament will do a bad number, and then Thomas Dietrich wins by 7, and it does a big number. Like where do we stand on ratings, and if they're an accurate measure in pro golf right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is really a matter of like dictionary definitions, and I think people just don't quite grasp that there are a few different ways of like actually picking out a rating. What a viewership metric is changes based on where you're watching it. And so if you're watching on YouTube, a view counts as anyone who's clicked into a video for 30 seconds or more.
Is that what it is?
If you're watching on TV, 30 seconds. Yeah, that's the generally accepted YouTube range. If you're watching on TV, the total reach number, which is something that you'll sometimes hear reported, is a measurement of everyone who's watched a broadcast for at least 1 minute. But the difference is a Nielsen, the average viewership, the thing that we are constantly talking about in golf, that is a measurement of everyone, the average number of people watching in each minute of a broadcast. So if at 4 p.m. there are 100,000 people and at 4:01 there are 50,000 people, the average viewership is 75,000 people. Now, this is obviously going to be a lesser number than the total number of people who are watching, which is why sometimes when you see these huge numbers for YouTube people, it seems like they're out of proportion with the rest of what we see on TV and what we see in general ratings. But I would say, generally speaking, like, everyone that I spoke to agreed Nielsen isn't necessarily like the greatest or most accurate way of discerning every single person who's watching a golf broadcast, but that's not the point. The point is that the Nielsen numbers give us a currency by which to buy and sell golf on television. And that is the difference. It is the agreed upon number for advertisers and for sponsors to say, hey, this is how much a TV broadcast is worth.
Wait, so that's interesting what you said about like the average. So if I just like 2.3 million, let's say that the Waste Management does 2.3 million, a video on YouTube that has 2.3 million, more people watch the broadcast because it's an average.
By like multitudes more.
Got it. That's interesting.
Yeah. So like it
was just the gotta love the awkward silence that comes on Zoom. We've had a few of those. Everyone just bear with us here. I want to ask you about the new media right. I mean, the media rights deal I think is going to go through 2029. It's very, you got ESPN Plus, you've got CBS, NBC. How different could that look?
Man, I mean, it could look as different as the PGA Tour wants it to look. I think the big question is, what is golf selling in the next rights deal? Are they selling a tour that looks like it is currently constructed with basically 40 weeks out of the year where there are tournaments and, basically half of the best players in the world are playing at any given time, maybe a little bit more than that? Or are they selling something that's fewer events with more big players together? All of that sort of changes the calculus of it. I mean, I think this is kind of a funny thing. We've heard a bunch of golfers. I remember Rory talking about this at Pebble, that maybe the best way to handle golf in the future is like fewer tournaments and, and a smaller fields and all of that. And that makes a ton of sense from like an entertainment standpoint. But the reality is that NBC and CBS have committed a ton of money for a certain number of events per year. And so that's the thing that's keeping us kind of in a little bit of gridlock until all of this stuff comes up. But I think everything's on the table.
So it's not like they could just chop 10 events off like CBS and NBC would be like, well, that's not what we paid for.
Yeah, not until the next TV rights. If they do, the PGA Tour would have to hand some money back, which I think if we've learned anything in the last 5 years in golf, it's that nobody's signing up for that shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. My last question for you. Is the Fox deal a game changer for them?
I would say relatively definitively through the first 2 weeks, no. I think it's great for the league as far as like Fox is a viable place to watch sports on television, and like people have watched sports on Fox before. So like that's great and new for the league. But as far as like changing the viewership metrics or anything that has to do with the way that golf is, I mean, you see those numbers from last week. Like the numbers aren't big enough to make a fundamental difference in the business. And the reality is like people are paying for golf. Advertisers are signing up, sponsors are signing up to sponsor events. The whole economy works because people tune in to watch and because people care about what the outcome is. And when that doesn't exist for a league, then it's just not worth any money in the economy. Like that's just the way the economy of sports works.
Do you mean to tell me that the LIV business model might not be sustainable?
I'm not. You're dragging me too deep into this now. I don't know if I'm going to go that far yet. But
you don't need people calling you a snake oil salesman again.
We're asking questions here, all right? And that's important. As part of this greater media cabal, I think it's important to be able to ask questions.
Yeah, we're just doing our own research. That's what we do here. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it. We'll do this again very, very soon. This next guest is just give him a clap. Control room, let's give this guy a clap. Rick Gehman coming back for Give Me a Winner. You know, I gave you very simple instructions, Rick. I said, give me a winner, and you fucking came through. Let's roll the clip from last week. With the betting profile of Torrey in mind, give me a pick for the Genesis this week.
Yeah, I don't think it's super crazy. I'm going with Ludvig Åberg, and despite the 3 rounds that we have seen him play most recently, where he's been quite literally vomiting on the golf course, and he's been ill, I think we can forgive him for those. But when you talk about long and straight off the tee, Dan, there is nobody longer, there's nobody straighter. He's got that total driving thing completely figured out. But I'm not sure everyone realizes what we're witnessing right now. Since he turned pro in 2024, I believe it was the Canadian Open was the first event that he played as a professional. He's the 5th best golfer in the world in terms of strokes gained. I mean, it's silly how good he is right now. He was on top of the leaderboard through 2 rounds before getting ill just a couple of weeks ago. I don't think there's any reason to think that the South Course of Torrey Pines is going to give Ludvig too much trouble here.
But it's time for a big win, I think. You know, it's like he's been there. He was up there with the Masters. You know, he's got that one victory, but it does feel like, you know, he needs a signature event or something like that. Not needs. Again, he's so young still, but it feels like the golf world's waiting for it.
Yeah, that's the burden of high expectations, Dan. Right? Like we have already anointed him, so now you've got to start putting trophies on the mantle.
You're such a stud, dude. You're such a stud.
That's a fun watch, man. We should just put that on loop. That was great. No better way to line the pockets a little bit on show number 1. Give us a little bit of breathing room. That's so good.
We're up 20. We're up 22 units on the PGA Tour. So we got to do 20 shows until we're in the negatives. It's fantastic stuff. Awesome. But this is a what have you done for me lately business, and so I want another winner. We got the Mexico Open this week. The field will not be the same quality that we've seen the last 3 weeks with the 2 signature events. So an opportunity for guys like you to really show off your knowledge. Give me your pick and tell me why.
Yeah, so I think we'll just start right there, Dan, right? This field is very weak compared to other PGA Tour standards. So you're getting an influx of some Korn Ferry Tour guys, some guys from the DP World Tour. I mean, Padraig Harrington is in this field, so you're getting some senior tour players as well. So we've really got to kind of recalibrate a little bit. And when I start to do that, I look at somebody like Sam Stevens, who was 25-1 last night, dropped to 22-1 after Maverick McNeely withdrew. You can still get him at that number, and he has played so much golf, Dan, since the start of the fall. In fact, he's played more than anybody in this field, 52 rounds since September, and he's played great. That is a really good sign. He's got a couple of high-end finishes, and he's got these great tee to green improvements thanks to Joe Mayo a bit, right? Started to work with Joe Mayo. Things are coming together. Sam Stevens had a T6 at Cabo. He had that runner-up finish at Torrey Pines. And this is, again, by far going to be the weakest field that he competes against. I think this is a really good spot for him to get a trophy.
And it's plus 2,200. That's our magic number.
That's the number. That's the number.
I asked you to give me one other pick for the Mexico Open that maybe isn't just a winner. Talk to us.
Yeah, so top 10. So first page of the leaderboard, for me, it's Lanto Griffin, and we don't need to rehash the fact that he has, basically missed a ton of time, had back surgery, came back, had the chipping yip, just like a lot of bad stuff, but it's been a lot better since last fall. So he won at Q School, and then he finished T9 at the Farmers. He's made the cut in each of his 3 trips to the Mexico Open, and he is still a huge liability around the greens. But when you get to Vedanta World, rebranded, new name, that is not necessarily a huge issue. They're pretty easy spots around the greens. This is still a resort golf course, even though it doesn't always look like one. So I think that Lanto, just to finish on the first page of the leaderboard at 6.5 to 1 is well worth a little flick.
Yeah, I think we have a little issue with the graphic here, but the 6.5 to 1 Lanto Griffin to finish top 10 is the pick. And then we thought we were going deep with the Mexico Open. We're going deep. We got the Magical Kenya Open, which is my favorite name of a golf tournament in the world, the Magical Kenya Open. How do you go about handicapping this and then give us a pick?
Yeah. So first off, the way that you would handicap this field in this event is very similar to how you would try to decide who makes the March Madness. It was like Selection Sunday. You have to start using similar fields, similar courses. You've got to start putting that kind of global network together. And when I saw that Brandon Robinson Thompson, if you have never heard of him, he's an Englishman, BRT, was 50 to 1. I almost jumped out of my chair, Dan. He has been on an unbelievable run here. So he started 2024 on the Challenge Tour. He won on the Challenge Tour in the summer. He has now gone on a run on the DP World Tour. His last 2 starts are an 8th in Bahrain, a 3rd in Qatar. He almost won in Qatar. He picked up 12 strokes from tee to green that week, and he's already one of the best putters on the circuit. I was expecting to see his name top 5 in the odds. I scrolled all the way down to 50 to 1, and I could not have texted it to you any faster.
Brandon Robinson Thompson. That is a British name if I've ever heard one. Rick, you're a hero on the show. You're an absolute hero on the show. The control room. I'm thinking maybe some of the guys might have tailed you because they were a little too excited when that happened. But we'll do this every week. I appreciate you, Rick.
All right, thanks, Dan. Let's do it.
Good stuff. We're breaking new ground here on Dan on Golf. We have an in-studio guest. Our first in-studio guest is a colleague of mine from scratch. His name is Zane Moulton. He's Australian. Probably one of the reasons why we're going to be doing this. And he's been writing these stuff for Scratch.golf, our website, called Love Letters 2. And he's a love letter to a certain golf course. And, I grew up and lived pretty close to Riviera. I was really sad that the tournament wasn't at Riviera. Obviously, there's way bigger problems with the wildfires, and Riviera was spared. But we're gonna have Zane in his dulcet Aussie tones. I've been waiting to say dulcet on air. We're gonna have him read his love letter to Riviera for all of your listening pleasure. So, kick us off.
Thanks, Dan. How good's the set, by the way? This is the first look where we've got like a wide. We've cut to a tight now, but you saw the wide. It looks great. But yeah, let's run through it here. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course.
So we start off with the hailstorm at Riv, which were you there?
Of course.
22?
I don't miss Riv. I don't miss that week.
All right. So as I wrote it, it was the Tuesday practice round in 2022. I'm working in the media center after a long day on the course when something you don't usually hear in Southern California starts to roll in. Storm clouds. Most of the media are too busy to notice as they work through the buzz of a newsworthy Tuesday practice round. And then before you knew it, hail was coming down on Riviera Country Club. Myself and a few other photographers scrambled for our cameras, batteries, and memory cards, running out of the clubhouse as fast as we could.
I'm going to stop you here because when there is rain or hail in Southern California, everyone just loses their shit.
Crazy.
Everyone loses. It's like you're so unprepared for it. It's like when on the news when the forecast gets to 48 and they're like, everyone like stay inside, get by the fire, like your hands might freeze. So continue.
Yeah, and we're in the media center, and I don't think even rain was called for that day. And people are locked in the media center. So I look out the window and see hail. It was quite the shock. Anyway, we'll keep going here. Anyway, as much as we were scrambling to get outside to take the photos, there were like 4 times as many people outside scrambling to get in. Not spectators, because on Tuesday they actually don't have spectators at the Genesis at RIV, but it was TV crew, players, agents, volunteers, all seeking shelter. Hail was coming down hard and fast, covering the perfectly manicured course in white. And just 10 minutes later, the storm was gone, the course was still, and the sun began to peek through the clouds. It was as wild of an event as, say, Tiger Woods not winning in 16 PGA Tour starts on the same golf course.
I'm going to stop you there. Fucking wild that the one course he can't win at is the one that he has his event at. That is absolutely insane that's the course that... I mean, I get it because he's from California, but the only course that's like vexed him that much in his career is Riviera, and now that's the course that for the next 30 years he's going to be hosting the event at. 16 starts, hasn't had a win there. It's kind of crazy. So I finished off with that little note saying, I guess Riviera Country Club is always full of surprises. A few weeks back, we obviously learned that the Genesis Invitational would sadly not be at Riviera due to the devastating fires in the Pacific Palisades, which came narrowly close to the property. The tournament move was a small footnote of bad news when compared to the tragedy that Southern California has endured. But the move is worth noting, as the Genesis Invitational's true home is Riviera CC. Yeah, I just a quick note here. Like I grew up on the west side of LA, and I went to high school probably a mile or 2 from Riviera. It's just the way these things work is you hear about them for a couple days, and then the news moves on. It's still an absolute catastrophe what's going on over there, and it's just personally know a lot of people who lost their homes, and just a horrible thing all around. But let's go back to the
great to see what they did this week as far as money support. Like Riviera themselves donated $1 million. Like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice to see everyone rally around.
Yeah. It was once called the LA Open. LA Open, a very long-standing tournament. It's been played at Riviera a total 60 times, and the first was in 1929. It's also been played, prior to this year, it was played at RIV the last 25 years, going back to 1999. So it's been there a good minute. So for it not to be at Riviera for the first time in the 21st century is and was a big deal. A George C. Thomas masterpiece that sits amongst the golden hills of the Pacific Palisades in sunny Los Angeles, California. Riviera Country Club should be on every golf fan's bucket list to see, and if you're so lucky to play as well. Thanks to the PGA Tour's annual stop at this historic venue, we all have the opportunity to walk the grounds and experience what makes this place so special. I've had the joy of photographing Riviera Country Club a few times now, and it's always one of my favorite stops on the PGA Tour. The golf course is so easily recognizable from some of its historic locations, such as the first tee, which backs up to the walls of the clubhouse, or the famous short par 4 10th that sits bang in the middle of the property like a badge of honor. And I think we were showing the 10th just before that picture 3 that we had up. But when you get out there and you walk and you see 1 through 18, you see that every hole has incredible character. Go ahead and add the best golfers on the planet to the picture, and you get one of those pinch yourself moments. Given the nature of the routing and the limited space, the golf course is a super easy walk. On almost every hole, you can see and go to at least 2 or 3 others, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a spot my favorite spot, which is like in the back corner where the par 3/6 is. You also lose cell service, which I kind of enjoy for me because I'm constantly like this. Probably when my posture is so bad, I got tech neck for days. But it engrosses you, and I think it's also so cool. You walk down the first hole, and then it's basically flat until you walk back up the 18th, and you feel like enclosed. It's very comforting.
It is, yeah. It's such a controlled space for just amazing golf watching, and I like for us as media when we walk through that clubhouse and you come onto that balcony, you just oversee the greatness that is Riviera CC. My eyes always go to 10, which is why I wrote about it as a badge of honor because it's not often. At a historic golf course, as soon as you walk in, you see the iconic hole.
That's a really good point. Like at Augusta, you got to walk to get to Amen Corner. At Riviera, it just kind of hits you like a punch in the face.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. I finished off by saying it's as much of a joy to walk as a spectator is a photograph. Just a truly special spot.
Yeah. So our thoughts are with Riviera and with this city that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. Thank you. That was awesome. I love those Aussie tones. It's good stuff. We're gonna move on to moving topics here to chirps from the gallery. I really loved this segment last week, so we're gonna do it again, where we just kind of highlight some of the best stuff from you guys on the internet. I love the internet so much. Chris Powers. This segment segment really should be devoted to Chris Powers because of how good he is at Twitter. I loved this one. We were talking about aim point and about, potentially banning long putters. So he said, how about everybody grow the hell up and use this bad boy? And it's a picture of young Corey Pavin with that bullseye blade that's about as wide as a toothpick. I agree. Everyone just needs to grow up and use a putter like that. Saquon Barkley. This has been one of the cool things the last couple years in golf is seeing all of these athletes outside of the sport who are obsessed with it. He said, if I don't break 80 this offseason, I got to give up the game. Watching that guy on the football field, if he can't break it, there might not be any stronger testament for how difficult and how finicky golf is that one of the best athletes in the world is really, really struggling to break 80. Spieth Island. This was a good one. This one made me laugh. So Jordan Spieth, there's Saquon. Some footage of him playing golf. Those quads are, how does he find golf pants that are wide enough for those quads? Pretty good putting stroke there. Yeah, he's got the dance. He's doing the dance after he makes the putt. Obviously loves the game. Moving on to Spieth Island. There was a lot of residents on Spieth Island. According to Jadon Takes, way too many developers were checking out Spieth Island last week. That 76 just saved us from a bland apartment complex and Whole Foods being built. Good to know you still got a little Brooklyn in it. Spieth Island, you push out some of the bad people and keep the soul of it. I'm going to roast myself here for a little bit. I tweeted on Thursday that if you broke par at Torrey Pines, you deserved to win a Nobel Prize. Sometimes I get a little bit dramatic, histrionic, one might say, on Twitter. Can't remember a day I'd rather play golf less on a certain course than today at Torrey South. And so then what did the pros do? They make me look like an idiot all the time because they're so damn good at golf. That 12 guys, or 13 guys, I think it was, shot under par. So I responded to my own tweet by saying in a first for this very prestigious award, the Nobel Prize will be handed out to 12 professional golfers today. So, a historic day for the Nobel Prize. I wanted to put a little bit of a spotlight on a guy called Dave Golf Visuals. He, I guess, just has Photoshop open all the time. And anytime I tweet or really anybody else in golf tweets something, he comes through with a visual that is like, it's almost like there's a touch of a hallucinogenic aspect involved where you see these images and you go, what the hell is going on in this guy's brain? So I tweeted something about Bryson. He's got Bryson jumping up and down over a picture of planet Earth that says World Content King. Where this guy comes up with this stuff, I don't know. We'll move on to the next one. Scotty Scheffler, natural born killer with the Mike Tyson eye tattoo. Again, this just the sheer creativity. And I think we have one more here. Yeah, Brandel Chambly holding the picture of Patrick Reed after he made his ace on the watering hole at LIV Golf Australia. So give Dave Golf Visuals a follow because it's trippy, but I'm so happy that people like him exist. The last one here, there was a lot of people on the internet, like more than I expected. Oh, no, this is a good point. This is about Joaquin Niemann. It talked about how he's still getting into majors, and it said getting invites to majors is about as far as he gets. 2 top 20s and 22 major attempts, I believe, 7 missed cuts. Absolutely cleaning up at LIV, though. It's true. It's true. If you're going to be consider yourself one of the best players in the world, you got to perform a little bit better in the major championships. Okay, moving on to Ludvig. There were a lot of people, I would say too many people, who were talking about how attractive Ludvig Åberg is yesterday, and I get it. He's a handsome guy, but are we just? That's not new information. Are we just every time he wins, we're just going to talk about how hot this guy is? So I like Sean Zock a lot. I really do. I think he's tremendous work. The cool thing about Ludvig Åberg is that he's also handsome as hell. The tour needed someone to eventually replace Adam Scott in the gorgeous swing, gorgeous person category. Did they though? Is that something that we needed? And then Chad, I love you dearly. He's probably in the control room watching this. Ludvig has such superstar potential. Gets a lot of commentary. This is totally legitimate about him being a golf robot, but nothing about his reactions are robotic. He's got a megawatt smile, and he's a tall, hot Swedish guy. I get it, guys. He's a handsome cat. He's going to win more golf tournaments. Are we just going to keep doing it? We're just going to talk about how handsome he is all the time? I mean, yeah, he's handsome. It's established now. Let's leave that one. And we're going to finish like we always do with our clip of the week. So Wyndham Clark inspires a lot of really strong feelings in people. I think it's because he's very honest. Like he's not afraid to talk shit. I remember when he said at the Ryder Cup that, we were asking him about how the U.S. hadn't played in a while and all the Europeans are playing, and he said, maybe they'll tire on day 3. He said after the Masters, after a bad round, something about LIV Golf in 54 holes. He's just not afraid to mix it up. But I really enjoyed spending time with him. I think he's a cool dude. He's got an awesome caddy, John Ellis, who played in 2 U.S. Opens himself. So our clip of the week is our one hole with Wyndham Clark.
Got a money game going with my pro-am partners.
How you doing?
He's down money. I'm Wyndham Clark. Come play a hole with me.
Yeah, this is a big boy hole today.
Yeah, this sucks. What is it? 600, freezing cold, rain.
What's your line here? Because we were just talking about it. I don't think we could carry it anywhere left of on the cart path.
No. You see those bunkers?
Yeah.
Not there. We're going
right of there?
Yeah, no, honestly. Right. Yeah, ideally just barely left of those 2 people. Oh, I hit it straight.
Perfect, right?
Yeah. Usually when it's cold like this, I'm so stiff, I just hit them block.
So do you not, I notice you're not really wearing, I was actually talking to him about this earlier. I remember when I watched Xander at the Open, he didn't wear rain gear the whole weekend.
Yeah, I hate it.
It's too cumbersome.
Yeah, the pants I'm okay with. It's one, I know that sounds weird, but I don't like the noise of it moving when I swing.
Totally.
And then I only like the half sleeve ones if I'm gonna wear it if I absolutely need it. But really, I'd rather just get wet and feel like I can swing.
Yeah.
Than have the restriction and hit bad shots.
Yeah, so. If you have to deal with pneumonia later, it's totally fine.
100%. Yeah. You know what? It's whatever you can.
Should we ban aim point?
It doesn't bother me. The only reason is because it still takes feel and skill. Someone could argue that it doesn't take skill, but you have to train your feet to be able to feel what a 1%, 2%, 3% is. And then you have to be able to be good at that, and then also know how your arm length, and then it changes. Not every putt's planar. So, I don't really care. Pace of play wise, I'd love if we played faster.
Yeah.
I'm a fast golfer, so I would love to see some fast golf. Got a money game going with my pro-am partners.
How you doing?
He's down money. They made a natural 2 on 11.
With a hammer, so they double the bet.
And then hammering in the...
Oh yeah.
You are, you might be a degenerate.
Yeah,
well, we're threesome with foursomes out here, and it's bad weather. Might as well enjoy it.
So this is just layup city here?
Oh yeah, I'm not even thinking about anything else. Oh, that was a mud ball. Can I cover the front with a full 9, or do you think it's an 8?
I think it's an 8 iron, but I don't know if you could hit it taller enough out of there. But I'm good with that.
Pin's back for sure. We saw it coming down here.
All right, I think I'm going to try to hit the 9 as high as I can.
John was shaking his head. That's why he's Wyndham Clark,
yes.
baby.
You tell him.
Good shot.
Suck it, John. Great hole. After my career shot.
With authority.
Downhill. Yeah, I just pounded
back of the cup.
What a birdie, dude.
Yeah.
I'm free the rest of the week if you need me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just walk with us.